All right, Leaf fans. Sigh of relief. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne. Breathing the biggest sigh of all are Sammy McKee. Also, Derek Brandeo, Jake Schultz with you for the next 2 hours, including our Leaf Hour edition of our show. We are live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. The game, I think a lot of Leaf fans were waiting to see. An easy one. 60 minutes, never in doubt. Large margin of victory. Some cookie time for the big boys. This is the game that you said yesterday that you thought you might see. Yeah. And JB, full credit to you. That's exactly how it played out.
It was just nice to know that it's still in them. I think there's a little run of hockey there where you're going, they're still like I know maybe they're not the elite team in the league, but like we're sure they're not bad, right? You just sending us the message the other day, like they're going to make playoffs, right? It's like, okay, really refreshing to see that all of the things we believe that are in the roster, all these good things, they are there. It all came together for a night at a time when they were pretty motivated. So yeah, good feeling last night.
Yeah, I think there can be some conversations about the quality of competition, but at this point of the season where it has looked the way it has for the past couple weeks, you'll be taking it against anybody. And this team is a team that blew a 2-0 lead to the San Jose Sharks in the third period during this stretch of hockey. So I don't think you can get too bent into shape about any competition conversations.
Right.
A Toronto Maple Leaf team needed a victory, and they set the tone early and beat the brakes off the Flames.
They beat the brakes off.
Yeah, big assist to the schedule maker because this is what the team needed, right? They've been pushed a little bit last week with the likes of Florida and Ottawa. It didn't fare well. Think about reversing just the two games this week.
Right. Like had they played this game first,
had they played Colorado last night and then Calgary Wednesday.
Yeah.
And if it wouldn't fare well against a Colorado, would Wednesday have even mattered so much? Like it was exactly what the doctor ordered in terms of a team that has really depended on some incredible goaltending out of a rookie, but certainly doesn't look anywhere worthy now. I think they've lost 3 in a row, and maybe Wolf came down to earth a little bit last night, but a Calgary team that doesn't look worthy of a potential playoff spot right now.
Yeah, curious to see how that plays out. They've been really burning the candle at both ends, and they just can't score. You know, they're 32nd in the NHL in goals for. You check a lot of the underlying stuff, it's no better. So can they find a way to produce offense? They need everyone, a couple of guys out of their lineup. So, yeah, it wasn't great on their end, but to Sam's point, you can only beat who you play.
And, yeah, you can't score, especially when the goal robber, Jordan Bean and Sam Kim are.
Yeah, that was a well-timed challenge.
Like, I mean, you got to feel for Morgan Frost. Like, in his, this dad was the PA guy for the Leafs forever. He's in his hometown. Probably has how many people there? How much money has he spent on those tickets? Puck falls on his stick in the slot, hammers it home, big celebration. And then Sam Kim and Jordan Bean, we're taking that away from you, buddy. Yeah. And that was, honestly, like, huge turning point in the game.
Huge.
Because if that stands.
Well, I don't know if.
I mean.
They're just no good last night. Calgary's no good.
But you don't think if that goal stands, it's a different result than we're sitting here talking about today?
Maybe it's not quite.
Maybe it's 6-3 instead of 6-2?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Right.
But I just, I didn't see it. And regardless if it's for Toronto or against Toronto, like, nothing can just suck the life out of a game than just that and then waiting for the result. And I don't know, they got the GM meetings. I wonder if that comes up at all on, can we clean this thing up?
Yeah.
Expedite the process.
Something.
Maybe they can.
Something.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I thought the big story for me is we've been talking about Matthews and Marner not looking great, about, just all these things down the lineup we're not sure about. And I thought those guys came out and had a hockey game. I remember sitting there when it was 2-1 or 3-1. I forget when Matthews scored and going, it's a shame he doesn't have one tonight because he should have about 5. Like he had a ton of attempts and was all over it. So glad a couple win it.
All right, let's get Craig Berube's thoughts on the game, and then we'll zero in on 2-goal performance by Auston Matthews.
Well, the effort in the first period was, just the urgency and the way we came out and played, shot pucks, and our temps were way up, and we were like right on top of them. There was no room for them, so that was the key start of the game for us. Our power play was very good tonight, obviously, and our PK did a good job. So those are big parts of the game. The challenge, our video guys did a good job there. It was taking a little longer than I thought. They told me we were 110% sure. So I don't know. It took a while.
So much pressure. If you're in the coach's ear and you tell him you're 110% sure it's coming back,
I don't know. Maybe
so much pressure as that's taken.
Maybe
a while.
I missed the definitive angle,
They
but
must have had one.
like
The angle they kept showing on Amazon showed zilch.
Nothing.
zilch.
No
Not
help
one
at all.
thing.
Like
No.
What if we try showing you this same angle?
How about this one again? I was like, can we get the other side maybe?
yeah.
They just must have had.
I'm like, they
something
must have
to see.
saw something.
Yep.
I think it bounced off of Lawton's skate that delayed it and then
Good
pushed.
thing that happened for him.
But
Hey, Lots took a goal off the board with that one. It was, he had the bad luck at the end of the game, but he also
Yeah.
took one away there without knowing it.
This guy's like, I got a 4-leaf clover on my chest and I can't get a bounce. Like
Oh.
it's bouncing in off me in a
Poor
6-1
Lots
game.
out there, dude. He's stepping on rakes right
Oh
now. but
my God.
It'll come together
Yeah.
for him.
okay, Auston Matthews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did we see last night that we haven't seen over a very large stretch of hockey?
He had the puck a lot. They were in the offensive zone.
Yeah.
And I thought, getting open, finding spots, and just seeing some ozone possession time. It was funny watching him with the puck last night, being like, he hasn't had it there a lot this year. The puck just seemed to follow him around a bit.
He had good puck touches.
There you go.
Indeed, he did. Should we listen to the code? Do you have a thought on it? Or?
Yeah, of course. But let's go to Craig Berube.
We have a couple different ones from Berube. So the one, we'll play clip 2, which is right after the game last night. So clip 2, please, Derek.
I think, that's your leader, right? Led the way for me. Led the way with effort, competitiveness, just work.
And then this one's from after practice today in Toronto as well. Clip 7, please, Derek.
He grabbed a hold of the room, and it's not good enough what's going on here. And he went out and he talked and then he walked. Is really what it boils down to. He went out and he led the way with the work and the compete that was needed at the start of the game.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting that he's talking about he competed.
he looked more like what we've been accustomed to seeing, especially in his big years.
Mm-hmm.
That the focus, obviously, when people speak of him, and even Max, we'll get Max's comments on him. But it's around, first of all, he's competitive, hardworking, and it hasn't always been the case, at least from my eyes, that's why Berube mentioned those 2 or 3 things. It's because maybe it hasn't been there all the time for him. And then it has caused us to go, okay, what's going on? Is he hurt? He's just not that guy who Craig just described moments ago.
Yeah, he was very close to winning. I should say very close, but close enough to winning a Selke trophy. Did he get nominated for the Selke one year? He was a real force in the D zone and winning pucks back and takeaways and all those sort of, those things. And so it is funny because you never want to accuse a player of not working hard when they might be hurt, when they might whatever. But
He was a nominee last year
He was a nominee last year.
and scoring 70.
Yeah.
Was who's a finalist? Somebody was
Last year it was Barkov, Matthews, and Stahl. Barkov wins. The year before it was Marner, Patrice Bergeron won in 2023, and Nico Hischier.
yeah, okay. Both of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, it's a big part of his game getting pucks back. And we
Yeah.
haven't seen it times where it's like he's on the other side of the body, right? We've seen him, I'm going to go to the wrong side and try to stick lift rather than the right side. And so it's never sure if it's effort or injury or
Yeah.
what. But
To me, I think we've talked a lot this year about his captaincy and how not a lot of things have been really different. And like all the different things that we've talked about, like I don't think he's ever going to be really Mr. Rah-rah. I don't see him behind the scenes, but like in his media availabilities and sort of his demeanor on the ice, doesn't necessarily feel like a rah-rah guy. But to me, last night actually seemed like the most leadery thing he's ever really done for the Leafs in terms of him being the captain, where you're in a tailspin. Your team has been playing awful. You've been quiet. There's been tons of question marks about you. And then you just go out there and you, to use a cliche hockey term, absolutely set the tone right from the drop of the puck where he just took over the game. It's like the first real captainy thing I can ever really see him doing, to be honest. I wish it had happened before before St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
But I was surprised by it last night.
We also got a comment from Max Domi talking about Auston Matthews as captain. Let's have a listen.
He's the man, honestly. He battles through. He's probably the hardest working guy I've ever played with my whole career, and I've played with a lot of guys. So he's driving the bus for sure, and it's tough not to jump on board with a guy like that. As talented as he is, you see him, tracking back and turning pucks over and stripping guys and taking guys 1-on-3 down low and coming out with the puck somehow. Obviously, the goal scoring speaks for itself, but it's all the other stuff and how he handles himself in here. Like I said, he's driving the bus, and I've said it from day one. He's my favorite player to watch, favorite player to play with, and best player in the world. So love him to death, and he's doing a great job.
Now that's just a good teammate right there. Right?
I was going to say, who loves Craig Bruve love Shen more, or does he love Auston Matthews more?
That's a guy who's trying to build up Austin, and he hasn't been driving the bus, and he hasn't always looked like he's the hardest working guy. I think, especially if you go back last summer with the decision to strip John Tavares from his captaincy and give it to him, they have wanted and pushed for Austin to go to the next level. And up until last night, that hasn't happened. No signs of Austin now taking over and truly being the face of this team. It hasn't happened yet. And good on Max for telling people how good he can be and how great he can potentially drive a bus, but it hasn't happened this year. And you got 15 more games to go. Maybe starting last night, that is the start now of Austin being the guy that Craig Berube and Max Domi just described. But up until going into last night, zero signs that this guy is the face and the engine behind this hockey club.
Yeah, listen, we fundamentally in the past, like you and I disagree about what Matthews is. That's just, though we've established that over the years.
What is he?
Well, I mean, last year he scored 69 and is nominated for the Selke. To me, he's, if not the best player in the world, and he's not Connor McDavid, then he's in that top three. He's one of the guys who controls the game and fundamentally changes the hockey game when he's out there. And this year, I totally see it with you. He hasn't been that this year. And so I've been trying to put a finger on why. And that part has been a big challenge because we don't know and they don't tell us anything. And you sit here and talk about it every day. And it's like, the guy who is still, I think, 1.2 points per game. I don't know what he is exactly, but statistically still having a good year is not the same. And so it's hard to be critical, but in terms of looking for him to be the guy, it's hard in a year where he went to Germany. He sat out 9 games. Like something's up. Right?
And we've given him, in all due respect, the benefit of the doubt. Everybody has. And does last night now put an end to he's hurting, he's not 100%, something's going on? Can we stop that narrative for the next 15 games?
I see. I'm, the whole he's not as good as things are not as good as you think they are, as bad as you think they are. I think the Flames kind of stunk it up last night.
Yeah.
And I think the puck fell to Matthews a couple times in good spots.
It has,
And that
but what we witnessed last night was common to the 69-goal season, where it's like it's on his stick, it's gone. Like it's no hesitation, no.
Yeah, but Kip on the
right?
on the power play, he didn't hit any of those one-timers that fell to him over there, and I was like, why doesn't he shoot it?
I mean, the second one, he kind of fanned on it too. And it tricked
the short
the five hole one on Wolf. He kind of
I thought he got a lot of it.
It was not the A shot, I wouldn't say. If you want to watch it again, like the first one's a nice shot. It's still, I think you're still going to see signs of him not being perfect. Mm-hmm. But just the encouraging thing for me, and you talking about him not really taking it over all year, is totally fair. Like it's been a constant conversation. And for him last night, regardless of competition, just to go out there and seem like the leader is hugely encouraging.
Outside of shooting in the net, I saw more spring. I saw more pop.
Okay.
I saw more energy from him.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. You know, I feel like it's been a lot for him this year. You know, you start with the captaincy and you start with injuries and you start with this overseas stuff and he never quite finds it and he sits out and he's struggling. The stats are down. You know, then they go into the Four Nations and he's kind of the guy in that final game where you feel like it's him or nobody for a while. You know, then they're right into it. Just has felt like a lot in total.
I don't disagree with anything you just said.
And now I wonder, okay, it's after the trade deadline. You know, they're off this whole road trip. Can things settle in? He's got some spring in his step. They've been tired. Can we find a spot here where they're just themselves again?
Can they wear green every night?
They wear green every game.
Regardless of Calgary being bad or running out of gas, like this should be able to kind of take them into a very challenging game Wednesday night. With he should feel as good going into Wednesday night versus Nate McKinnon as he's felt all season long.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, listen, you know, I say he's one of these like top few guys in the world. Him at his best just looks different than McKinnon at his best and McDavid at his best. No one can do what they do. They are top speed, pull the speed of the game behind them. There's a wake behind them of bodies.
There's violence to both those guys'
right.
speed.
And it's not, Matthews has never been that. He's a different sort of heavy,
I've seen
weighty,
him drag guys on his back going to the net. I have.
Yeah. No, he can with his strength.
He can.
But he's not.
He can drag a wake.
Yes,
he can.
Okay, it's a different type, right?
It's a different type. It's not.
It's a more forceful, but less
more
speedy.
Forceful, less fast twitch.
Yeah, for sure. So you know, you're not going to watch that game and go, "That guy's as good as that guy." It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
you know, McKinnon's a freak.
I think for fans, for sure, like there was a real dread to a lot of these games. Watching these games, looking ahead to these games that over the past few weeks have just looked so similar, and they've, you know, you've just been kind of worried about going into it. Like, what are we going to see tonight? At least last night breaks up the monotony of that and gives you a little bit of excitement going into the Wednesday night, being like, okay, maybe we're back, and they may not be. Like, they may get starched on Wednesday, but at least fans have a little bit of hope going into it.
Colorado's beating everyone.
They're so good.
So good right now.
Even on the power play, like there's sometimes when he's drifting off the post between the bottom of the circle, if you're the goalie facing it, and sometimes he gets too lost over there for me. And then the 5-hole second power play goal, where he's in the slot and actually is below the goal line. Yeah. That to me was maybe one of the first power play goals. I'm like, hey, I've seen Tampa do that, and I've seen Florida do that with Reinhart. What I haven't seen is that type of bang, bang, bang play out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I like Matthews standing there. I don't like him getting lost on the far blue line, waiting for the one-timer.
Last night, great point, because last night was the first time I felt like on the power play, guys were all over the place. At one point, Matthews and Marner switch, and Matthews came up to the top, and Marner was on the flank, and it didn't quite work, but they were trying to get to different spots. You know, they weren't as rigid in where they are. You know, and Marner's able to make his reads, gets it over to Nylander for a great one-timer. Like, there was more movement on the power play.
Sometimes I'm
3 for 3.
Even last night, even last night, sometimes I'm looking at Nyes and Tavares, and they're almost standing beside each other in the top of the blue line, and I'm like,
redundant.
no good.
Yeah.
Just might as well be wearing one jersey.
Yeah.
And it's not. There's no movement in that.
It stinks. I think
it's getting to the pucks and hoping that you get a bounce and a rebound.
And it's like they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings because obviously those guys are good enough to be there. But it's like if they are redundant, like I love McMahon's shot from the bumper. Like I feel like he might be a little something different that could play higher up in the slot for them. But not going to critique the power play tonight. They go 3 for 3.
Yeah.
Got lots of looks.
It had some good looks there, especially that goal I just mentioned.
Why don't we?
So I was just gonna say that's Matthews' third multi-goal game all year.
Last
year he had
before the game,
5 hat tricks.
Honest to God, last night before the game, I was like, has he had no hat tricks?
0 hat tricks.
That's bizarre. All right, let's listen to clip 6 from Craig Berube on the power play.
You know, the biggest key for me was the resets to the top, you know, not forcing it through the seams, not forcing it. You know, it's clogged up there, but we moved it around. We were patient, moved it around, and then we attacked when we could and shot it. And, you know, we capitalized on some plays, but just the resets up top, you know, that's very important.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we've gotten to the point now where we've all gotten past the fact that it's 5 forwards, where it's like that used to be like, oh, it's not, but it's just always going to be 5 forwards.
Yeah.
And Marner's the best option they have at the top. He's the best distributor.
He took a run at a loose puck in the neutral zone that if he didn't get to,
It
was like,
was a 2-on-1.
Yeah, and he made a great play to get there.
That was
it's a dicey
very,
read.
very close.
Yeah, like
Elite
Posty
read.
back
But
up and
he
play that.
has a knack, eh?
He does.
His timing back there to break up a 2-on-1 or get some sort of stick on puck is like phenomenal.
Knack is a perfect word.
If it's a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 or near 2-on-0, and you can give me Riley or Marner defending it, I don't know who I pick. I honestly don't know who I pick. Like, is this going to be is it the power play goal?
God, those jerseys look good on ice.
They do. They look really sharp. So yeah, Matthews gets himself to the bumper spot, down low, 1 touch. Kaboom. But yeah, I think that Marner is as good as Morgan Riley.
That
playing
is
rush
one of the
against.
worst PK teams in the league, too. Are they not?
Well, from the looks of that.
They were
that's a
like
bad.
not even like.
I don't need to look at the stats to tell you.
Close.
It was not pretty last night.
No.
No.
That they are as bad on the PK as they appear.
Yeah, they're 27th in the NHL.
Oh,
Nice. Can they play the Flames in the first round? That'd be great.
I don't think that's an option.
Crap.
penalties seem to be a bit of an issue the last little while. Bad penalties.
What happened to Robertson there on that one? You just
I don't know.
can't shoot.
Did we hear post game?
Clip 5, Berube, please.
Yeah, it's, you know, we got to be more disciplined. You know, it's just, that's the bottom line. You know, can't shoot a puck after a whistle. He said he never heard a whistle, but I mean, I heard it. And, you know, you got to be aware of your stick. I mean, it's just, we can't take those penalties.
But and Chiefs this close to getting Daryl Sittler hearing aids. Okay, and he heard it.
That's the most like, you're lying to me. You heard it. Like the coach is just not believing your I didn't hear it story.
And after he took the high stick, you know, as far away as possible from his own net, and they flashed to Berube on the bench, and he just like did this like brow wipe and went down to the. He was so incensed.
So he's so mad. It's a guy he regularly scratches or does scratch sometimes.
Yeah.
And he still sits him out for one rotation. It's like he doesn't bench anybody.
No.
If you're not, I understand that
All
Robinson
year.
came out and scored, but that was like the guy you would have done it
couldn't
to in
believe
that
he got
moment.
another shift. Couldn't believe it.
He sat one rotation. And then he went out and scored. So credit to Berube, maybe, I don't know.
It's got to pay off for Craig Berube, all this loyalty, no?
I mean, all these guys are going to retire and go, I love playing for him.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want.
Except Kyper.
Can't put me out there. Oh, yeah.
Kyrie won't say that.
Kyrie didn't enjoy it.
I love that player. I love the guy.
What else do we want to talk about?
We got the Robertson Domi McMahon line who
Oh yeah.
I mean, I am frustrated because not a playoff line for me. Just not a playoff line. And they play well together all the time. And so I'm going to have to just say I'm wrong. And
They
But
play well
I-
against bad teams.
mark my words, they will not be an effective line against the Florida Panthers or the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I don't love that line head-to-head with Nick
No
Paul.
chance.
I don't know where you go. Like, we're out of
You
ideas.
look so scared over there.
Give me alternatives. Give me
I just
something
need
else.
maybe a heavier line that you don't. At least if they don't score, they can give you some matchup minutes or something.
They went
Holmberg, Lawton, Yarncroc.
One game,
I don't know.
taking the big boys and spreading them out 3 lines.
Not
One
even-
game.
Not even close to a game. 5 minutes of ice
Period.
time total. Yeah.
And this is
What it's going to be.
what it's going to be.
You are telling me they're going to go McMahon, Domi, Robertson in round 1.
Lawton starting on the fourth line, no David Camp.
No chance. So I don't know how
I don't
they'll.
know. I think you need Camp back in there.
Camp's got to be in there. I will say Holmberg has changed my feeling about him.
He's big.
He's big, and he's making some plays lately, and he's drawing penalties, and he's kind of in people's faces.
Transports
Loved him
the
getting
puck.
punched in the face last night. That was great.
It's still a challenge getting pucks to the net, though.
He
Even
can
last
pass
night.
it. He can't shoot it.
Even last night.
Yeah.
Like
He can't shoot.
If,
Or doesn't shoot.
So I don't know what the score was halfway through the game. Maybe 3-1, maybe 4-1. But like they went over 30 minutes with 10 shots on goal. And I get it. They might have been up and they're but like you're still a team kind of starving for pucks to the net and offense, and there's guys that want to get going, and McMahon scored after a lot of games that he didn't score, and
That's the one you needed.
there's a few
Monkey off the
others
bat.
that could use a cookie.
Yeah.
But 10 shots on goal in 30 minutes with Calgary last night, like 60 minutes, push. It's still a challenge.
All right. We should listen to Berube on the Robertson, Domi, McMahon line to assess if
favorite
he's
line.
going to use them.
Your favorite line.
Clip 4.
Well, you get a little combination of everything there, but you got some real speed on the wings, right? And, Robbie finishes. He finished tonight. Max made some plays, but the line for me tonight was, they had the hound mentality in them. I thought that they all were skating, working in the face of the other team, didn't give them time and space, and that was a key for their line tonight, in my opinion.
Yeah. And we're
They
seeing
were great.
we're
They're all
seeing we're seeing the best of Max Domi.
Yes.
Okay, this is what you signed.
7 or
This
8
is-
points in his last 12 games. He's been good.
This is the guy that you had can move him up or down the lineup.
Yeah.
But
I-
his energy is as good as we've seen as a Maple Leaf in the last week.
Absolutely.
Looked it up last year around this time. I think from the start of March until the end of the season, in 21 games, I think he had 17 or 18
Got
points.
hot, and they played him with Matthews.
He heated up towards the end of the year, and I think he had 4 points in the first round, a goal and 3 assists in the first round. So, nobody scored at all
Yeah.
in that first round,
Yeah.
so that's pretty good for him. So you're kind of hoping that maybe he's the type of guy at this time of year really starts to get engaged. And, you think about the Florida game where he scores, he beats the crap out of Schmidt, he hammers Verhaeghe. Great again last night, pretty good Saturday night. You hope that he flips the switch. You just don't think it.
A couple of the things that went right for Domi are what worries about me. Like the sauce he throws out to Robertson from behind the net through 9
it's-
people that land.
Every once in a while, there's the hopers.
That gets through in that
Yeah.
game. And most of the time it doesn't.
Skips off a stick, 2-on-1 the other way.
I don't like the play, but
Yeah.
you can't sit here today and be like, bad play. It's a great play. But if I'm a coach, I'm
Yeah.
like, we don't want to be making those.
That low angle of that pass
I know that lands.
over like the 2 sticks right in the sweet spot. It's like, God, what a
It's
pass.
such a
But
good
you're
pass.
right.
Nyes was guilty of a horrific
The turnover and
turnover
the goal against. Yeah.
against Rasmus Anderson,
Yeah.
where it's
Huberdeau,
like,
great play.
turn your back, can't see the back pressure. Next thing you know, 1-1 after a period that you could have been up 3-0,
Yeah.
right? So, few things to clean up, and Max isn't the only one.
No. No, and he was excellent last night, and I love the pursuit. I think Nick Robertson can play. You put him in the lineup, and he doesn't bother me at all. He can
You
play.
still have hope there's a Max Pacioretty
Well, did he go to
rebirth?
like Robidoux Island? Like this guy was like a fixture in the lineup, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, his back's a little sore." And now he's just
If he can,
gone.
if he can just physically feel good,
Yeah.
like maybe a couple of hits in the first round might be enough to
heavy, great shot,
right?
can hit.
Like he's already showed
12
me
minutes.
over 40 games. Unfortunately, the body broke down on him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he can just hang around.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm asking about before the show is his body broke down. Did it? What did we hear on this? He just went away.
The first practice back from the Four Nations when we were still in the middle of Four Nations, it's it didn't happen. But he's something happened.
Well, it's
he's gone.
Step on a landmine?
He's gone.
Can we?
No, I think the body broke down.
What does that mean?
I don't know. He's with Dr. Goldman, $6 million man. He's getting rebuilt
just
right now.
Soldering his hips.
They
back
flashed to him. He's just full body.
The guy from Office Space who got hit by a car.
We can rebuild him.
Well,
but he's practice. He's before practice. He's out there with old Yanni Hockenpah. They're out there before practice.
He lives.
He's wearing hockey equipment.
Hockenpah's Max Scherzer's brother, apparently.
Oh, please.
All right.
Please. Come on, Borny.
Sorry, bud.
All right, let's take a quick break.
Yeah, we'll get Luke after the break down there covering the game last night.
You heard, Sammy. Luke Fox, Leafs and NHL writer for Sportsnet.ca. More Leaf talk when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. All right, we're back. You good, Sammy? You
All good, brother.
Good, JB?
All good.
Okay, let's welcome in Luke Fox. Leafs and NHL writer for Sportsnet.ca. Luke, your finger's off the panic button, right? Yes. Or is it Sammy's? Which one?
Oh, I don't know about Sammy. I can't keep track of his emotions. They're all over the map.
A little bit of an exhale after last night's game.
Yeah.
Is that the sense you got leaving?
For sure. There was a lot of relief in that dressing room talking to the guys. I think Max Domi put it best. He basically said, we knew we needed that one. And it certainly felt like that. It felt like an unusually big game for a Monday against a non-conference opponent, just because, the losses were piling up, but also aesthetically, they looked pretty awful for a good couple weeks now. They were getting some points on shootouts in overtime, and they were kind of just scraping by. But that was their most emphatic win, I would say, in 2 months, dating back to when they went in the Bell Center. But even in that one, they had to dig themselves out of a hole, and then they came back and walloped the Canadians. That was probably the last time where a victory felt that decisive for the Leafs. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important that not only did they get the 2 points, and of course that matters, you're looking at the standings and it's so tight there between those teams, but I think they needed a decisive victory, enough of these, barely getting by type wins. So the mood around the group has changed. I think they were at their lowest, their angriest. I think they knew they had better. And I thought Auston Matthews was the best player on the ice. And we probably haven't been able to say that enough this season.
Absolutely agree. In the first hour, there was one topic we didn't get to, which was goaltending, and not because it was all that impactful in the game last night, but rather we are now inside of a month till playoffs. And all year long, we're going, okay, game one, who's it going to be? And it kind of felt like they tried to give it to Stolarz, but he had a couple of mediocre performances. Where are we at on the goalie watch for playoffs?
I think Stolarz still has the edge, but I don't think it's as wide of a gap. So Joseph Woll, I don't think he's been standing on his head, but he has won his last 2 games, and Stolarz has lost the last 2. The counter argument to that would be that Craig Berube has given the harder opponents to Stolarz. And I would imagine he'll get the net again against the Colorado Avalanche. So how does he look? Can he rebound and have a strong performance against those guys? I think they're leaning towards him because they have been giving him the quote unquote marquee matchups. But I thought Joseph Woll was solid. I think he was a little shaky to start, but he settled in. He wasn't overly tested. Let's be honest, guys. That's the 32nd ranked offense in the whole NHL. The Calgary Flames weren't pressuring him that much, but he got the job done under a pressure-filled night. They needed a win. He was solid enough. He got the job done. So I think we still have, whatever it is, 15 games or so to see this race play out. It is important to note that Craig Berube announced a while ago that he does want one guy. I don't think he wants to rotate right through the playoffs. He wants one guy to grab it and probably start game 1 and game 2, and we'll see who that is.
You're watching and listening to Luke Fox, NHL writer covering the Leafs for Sportsnet.ca. So, Luke, speaking of potentially a rotation here, we've seen various looks of a third line. Last night, we saw Robertson, Domi, and McMahon. Everything points into the direction that it was a huge building block for them. The way Max Domi's playing right now, Lawton, where does he fit in on a third line? And then ultimately David Kampf. Where do you sense the bottom six moving towards ever so closely to the first round?
Yeah, it is fascinating, Nick, because like who would have had David Kampf out of the lineup? I thought this team needed more centers, not fewer centers, and all of a sudden, you win and you probably keep a winning lineup. According to line rushes today, David Kampf is still on the outside. I just find it hard to wrap my head around David Kampf not being in the lineup game 1 of the playoffs, just because I think they need his defensive prowess. I think Nick Robertson, great on him for scoring a goal, but I think he's still very much on the bubble of this lineup when it comes to the playoffs, just because, you're not going to play the Calgary Flames in round 1. You're going to play a big, heavy team. It could be Tampa. It could be Florida. He hasn't exactly thrived in those environments. I think he's working his butt off, and he's improved as a two-way player. He's improved in terms of giving you a little something, in terms of energy on nights he doesn't score, but he's very much on the brink. I find Lawton really interesting. So he's played 5 games. In 3 of them, he doesn't even have a shot. He's a minus player so far. He hasn't had a point as a Leaf. He's really struggling to find his footing. I felt bad for him in garbage time there. The goal clicks off his skate, goes in past Wool. He's fighting it, and you can tell the guy is wearing it a little bit. He wants to make an impact. He realizes that the team gave up a first rounder plus a half decent prospect and Grabenko to get him. A local guy tried to fight the other night. He wants to make an impact. You don't give up that much and not have him in the lineup. So it is kind of interesting that there is an internal battle going here. But as long as that line of Robertson, Domi, and McMahon is giving you something offensively, I don't see a reason to stray from it. But Lawton has yet to find his fit. That's to be sure.
Mike's off. It does feel like there's still some soul searching to be done. By soul searching, I mean line searching, like trying to figure out how to get these guys all put together as they head towards playoffs. It's a tight race now. 2 points back of Florida with a game in hand. Tampa's just in the same spot there. Do you place much weight on the value of home ice? Like, I would love to see them win the division, as would you guys, I'm sure, in terms of their chances. But if they get stuck in that 2-3 series, does that matter?
I think it does, and maybe less about having home ice as playing strong and feeling good about yourselves going into the playoffs. I'm sure you guys remember like the way the season ended last year. They limped in, guys. Like it was all about Matthews' 70-goal chase. Willie was chasing a career high in points. They didn't have their game together. They looked scattered. They were doing some load management. A lot of the lines weren't clicking. And what do you know? They dug themselves a hole in the Boston series. And by the time they turned it around and started playing their best hockey in that series, it was too late. Boston had built the lead. They were coming from behind. I think it has less to do with what building it takes place in, because I actually think sometimes at home they get a little nervous and a little panicky in the playoffs, and more about you want to be playing your best hockey. And this was a team that was leading the division for the bulk of 2025, and they've let it slip. So I think if they're piling wins and coming in with some momentum, that would serve them well. I don't think this team can flip a switch overnight. As
far as Wednesday night, right back at a team right now that everybody thinks can contend for a Stanley Cup. We saw some major trades to reinforce the Colorado Avalanche. Good time to play them. very next game, or do we get a sense that they would have liked a couple of more to kind of rebuild coming off of the Calgary game? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a great time. I think, they've just got slapped around by a bunch of real contenders like the Avalanche, a couple weeks back, like Florida, who came into their own barn. Now it would have a much different feeling had they lost last night against Calgary, but they got a win under their belts. Let's show the world that we can hang with the real contenders. That would be my message if I was Craig Berube to the guys. Mm-hmm. You got home ice, you got to win. You're feeling good about yourselves. You got, a practice day in. You're sleeping in your own beds. Like let's show up against a real team and see what you got, because their last few quote unquote measuring stick games, they've come up a little too short. So I think this will tell us a lot about where the team is at.
For sure. One of the things that, you mentioned Lawton is one of their new additions we haven't touched on much is Brandon Carlo. I think by some of the fancy stats, like expected goals and shot attempts and stuff, he's like the best among the Leafs D, and has been controlling the play while playing with Riley, which he hasn't had a ton of success with the partner so far. Have you liked his start as a Maple Leaf?
100%. Yeah. There was I think the first game in Colorado, that their attack is so fast, guys, and they're such a good passing team that, I think it was a lot for him to handle. And there was a couple shifts early on. I think he started his Leafs career at -2, before he could blink. But I think he's really settled in. I think he's been unnoticeable a lot of times, which is fantastic. That means he's not giving it away. He's making pretty clean exits. And I actually had a chance to talk to Joseph Woll a little bit about his first impressions. And he's like, he's the exact kind of defenseman I love because he's quiet. He just gets the puck away. I don't have to worry about it. It's just, he clears the front of the net. Does simple plays. And I think one of the reasons that he was attractive is just his length, right? He gets in the way. He's got a long stick. He can break up passes. The penalty kill went 4 for 4 last night. They were perfect, kind of an undersold part of that victory because of the goal of Palooza that went on at the other end. But the PK was fantastic, and they need a guy like him. And the fact that Tanev's healthy again, you have two guys that are just pure defensemen. Throw Jacob McCabe in there as well, but two guys that's all they care about is just preventing goals from going in the net. He's got experience. He's got a ton of playoff experience because the Bruins have won a bunch of rounds in his tenure. So I think it was a really smart pickup.
So if those three guys, all they care about is defense, who's going to help put the puck in the net? When you look at Morgan Riley, there were some signs that he was starting to come out of it. Does he need a game against Colorado like Auston needed a game against Calgary last night?
Yeah, if you're going to pick one guy, it's probably him, Nick. And the funny thing is, he's going to be staring across the red line, and there's Cale Makar, capable of throwing down 6 points. So, he's not on that level, but they do need more offense from him. And he should feel more free to get up into the play because Carlo was his partner now, because he has that safety net, because he's always thrived when it's that type of profile player, be it Ron Hainsey, Luke Shen. That's when Morgan Riley's been at his best. And Craig Berube, gave him a gentle call out yesterday morning. Someone asked about Riley's game, and he's like, well, he was going pretty good there before the Four Nations, but much like our team, he's kind of dipped a little bit. The pressure's on here. The good news is that history would tell us, a little like we're seeing with Max Domi, is that Riley does tend to bring his game up, elevate when it matters most. There hasn't been very many long stretches this season. He's struggled, but now that he knows he has one partner, they're sticking with it. They're not throwing a different guy on his right side every other night. I think that should give him the security to have a bit of an offensive breakout. They need it, and I think he needs it for his confidence too.
All right, Luke, get a good rest. You're right back at it tomorrow night, man. Thanks for doing this.
Okay, anytime, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks, Luke.
Luke Fox.
Yeah.
We just watched on the weekend Dallas and Colorado. McCarr scoring in overtime.
Yeah.
That'll be a heck of a series. But as good as Dallas is, as deep as they are, like, there's no one in the lineup that can do McKinnon or McCarr stuff.
No.
Is there two teammates in the league that can do that?
No, but that's one of those things. It's like every time you go up against a team or that team, they got the best guys.
Yeah. They have the two best players on the ice every time.
I can't think of a bigger challenge for the Toronto Maple Leafs coming up tomorrow night.
It's actually
than this team at this moment right now, where they're starting to really warm up with the likes of Brock Nelson in the lineup, and this Nichushkin.
Yeah, whatever.
They don't lose it.
This guy is really the guy that completely changes Colorado's look and feel. He is a mule.
He is. So
Did I see somewhere they're 13-0-1 with him in the lineup or something?
Yeah,
That does sound right.
Going back to February 26th, I just want to go through the Avalanche schedule and their the games they've been in. They won by 4, they won by 3, they won by 3, they won by 4, they won by 3, they won by 3, they lost in a shootout, they won by 2, they won by 1. So like the Leafs pummeled the Flames last night, whatever, by 4 goals. They can't have many wins by more than a goal or two. Every game they're in is a nail biter down to the end. Like the Avs are finishing tees off by the second period since around the deadline.
Yeesh.
You know, and then they got Nelson going now and could get Landeskog back potentially.
There is a very real possibility that the Leafs lose tomorrow night, but can somehow still look good and feel good moving forward.
Keep in mind that game they lost to Colorado, they lost 5-4. It was 7-4 with 2 empty netters at the end, but it's a 5-4 game. You know,
that one wasn't close for me.
No, I agree. The score was close.
Nice try.
But like you look at their top 2 lines here in their last 10 games, right? For Colorado, Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Necas. 8 points in the last 10 for Lehkonen, 16 for McKinnon, 9 for Necas. Drouin has 7 in his last 10. Brock Nelson has 9 points in his last 10 games. Nichushkin, 9 points in his last 10 games.
Yeah.
Like their forwards are just lighting it up. And that doesn't even say McCarr has 15 points in his last 10 games. Taves 6 points in his last 10. Like they just are shooting it in constantly.
Yeah, good luck.
And my biggest beef for the Leafs the last 2-3 weeks is just not playing fast enough, not making decisive, quick, confident decisions. And hopefully that started last night. But if you don't have that feel and that look against this team tomorrow night, it will be long.
It's so funny, though, like the way people use the term play fast and the way coaches use it is so different. Like when Craig Berube says we've been playing too slow, he means they've been making plays, like hanging onto the puck and curling back and whatever. Play fast means just touching off the boards and go. He means that way.
Or even if you have it on your stick longer than a split second, move your feet.
Move your feet. That's the only thing I do as a coach in house hockey.
Don't put them in cement.
As soon as you touch the puck, move your feet.
Boots and then look for a 60-foot pass that gets redirected and it's right back in your zone.
Yes, agree.
I've seen that 50 times in the last 10 games.
There is no point in a hockey game in which you should be standing still with the puck unless you're parked behind your net or you're in some sort of regroup while people change. Otherwise, move your feet up ice and look for the plays. Take the ice that's given to you while it's available.
Tell that to my beer league team.
Move your feet.
Lot of feet.
By the way,
move.
That's my Scott Lawton advice so far, too.
Move
Just
your feet.
Keep it moving.
You think he's too slow?
No,
right
I
now?
think he's
playing
hesitant.
slow. He's playing slow?
Yes.
There you go. Okay. All right. Catch your breath. Still got an hour to go as we go national with Steve Valiquette for his Tuesday analysis. It's going to be a lot of fun. This guy is a staple here on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, and we've got him up next. Don't go away. Welcome back to our national edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. In a couple of minutes, we'll welcome in Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG and CEO of ClearSight Analytics. I'm sure he's got some numbers for us, as he always does, the ones that we think may be useful or useless.
Either one entertains me.
Yeah, he does. He's fantastic. In the meantime, talking in our Leaf Hour edition, the Calgary Flames, tough loss last night. Tough loss on who's been far and away their best player this season.
Yeah.
Dustin Wolf getting pulled after a very good first period.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I texted you guys at one point, just like, this is like, I forget exactly what I said, but it was a Wolf game. Like, it should have been 3-0, and it was 1-1 at the
they had a horrible breakdown that led to William Nylander, who's second in the league in goals, one-on-one with him, and he stopped him once on the rebound. It was just, and then it goes down the other way, and they score, and you think, oh my God, is he going to try to steal this? But
yeah,
didn't happen.
Is that, for Calgary Flame fans out there, obviously listening on Sportsnet 960, is that a sign of a team just potentially running out of gas in front of them?
Do you think it's just been too many games, like, for a rookie in the league?
Too many games and a lineup that had what I thought was ample opportunity to put the puck in the net and just no finish, right? Just a team that they've got some like Nazem Kadri, good player, but then it kind of drops.
It does. Yeah, no, they don't have
Backlund there also to reinforce the middle of the ice. Now Morgan Frost last night, key guy, had a goal disallowed.
That stunk for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Wolf thing is interesting because their whole thing is it's built around, they have a good decor, they can't score, and they get great goaltending. So if one of those things is not quite right for the Flames, it's just not really going to work out, and that's, scary. You look at their upcoming schedule here for the Flames. They need wins. They have plenty of games in hand, but they got to play the Oilers tonight, I believe.
No, Rangers.
Rangers tonight.
Yeah, they're in New York tonight,
Rangers,
which is a really, really difficult game.
And then the Devils, and say what you will about the Islanders, they're somehow winning hockey games right now, so they got a tough road trip here for the Flames.
If you only watched the Leafs and Flames matchups this year, you'd think Dustin Wolf wasn't very good. 10 goals in the 2 games that he allowed against the Leafs. They went out there and they shot 5 past
I doubt
him.
he's given up 10 goals
No,
over 2
I
other
know.
games if you cherry picked them.
Yeah, so tough one against the Leafs this year for Dustin.
Yeah.
The blue line, too, as well. Like Mackenzie Weegar, really good player. Rasmus Anderson, I like a lot. But even last night, even on the Leaf side with Morgan Rielly being their best defenseman, just good defenseman, but not great.
Yeah.
Tempo setting guys that can skate and when they're out there, listen, there's only Quinn Hughes and Makar.
Yeah. Heiskanen.
Hudson, we're seeing maybe potentially growing into that guy, but it's really, really hard finding those pure grade A when they're out there controlling the pace of play.
But still, finding above average D is hard. And so the idea that they were going to trade Rasmus Anderson, I never loved that. So I'm hoping they're able to hang on to him.
Thought that Ball is a decent player too. Like he's just massive and he moves pretty well for a guy was he 6'7"?
Yeah.
He's huge out there.
By the way, how about that Hall penalty after the whistle? Holmberg escapes up, 1 punch penalty. It's like good play, man.
Didn't like him on the penalty kill, that's for sure.
You didn't?
No.
All right.
Anyways, all right, let's go to our number 1 guest on Tuesdays. Also
on Tuesdays. Thanks, Kyper.
Always Steve Valiquette. What's going on, my friend?
What's up, fellas? How are we?
So we're just touching on Dustin Wolf, who on many Tuesdays you've stated how much you love the guy, but what did we witness last night in Toronto? Bending, breaking, what did you make out of last night's performance out of him?
Fatigue makes cowards out of us all. All right. What is happening with him is he's just getting beat down. He was late. He was slow. He was down early. And lately I've seen in the data he's getting beat over his glove side. And those are all timing issues. The hardest part about the NHL schedule is keeping your timing. If you're down before the shot, you're dead. The way that you can look at Wolf right now versus Wolf when he's hot is just press pause where you see the puck leaving the shooter's stick. It should be halfway between Wolf and where it came off the stick. And right now he's down early. And he's not big enough to be down early. His timing has to be impeccable. And it's off. And I'm sure they'll find a way to ease his schedule a little bit. We have the Rangers facing off against the Flames tonight, and it's going to be Daniel Vladar.
That's fascinating. He had one kind of stinker in the game, but didn't see a ton of action against the Leafs. At the other end of things for the Leafs, we had talked with Luke Fox in the first hour, trying to put a finger on who would be their goaltender in playoffs. I know we've had that conversation with you in the past.
Yeah.
Felt like Stolarz, he's come back from this injury and he's goaltending again. Like, it looks like he's going to be the guy he was ahead of the injury. Do you have it as Stolarz's crease if playoffs were to start tomorrow?
I have like 10 pages here on my analysis on this question. Okay.
Okay, good.
This is we're gonna go deep here. We're going deep in
Okay.
the weeds. Deep in the valley.
Deep,
all right?
deep in the valley.
Now, you know what? Before we get to Toronto, I prepared a list for the league and who I think is going to start if game
Love
one
it.
is tomorrow.
I love that.
And-
Can I just
Yeah,
ask you a warm-up question to that?
sure.
Okay. Can a coach lose a series if he doesn't pick the right starter?
Oh, yeah, you can. You know what else you can do too is you can leave your guy in too long. Remember Boston a couple of years ago when they
Yes.
should have went to Swayman and they hung him with Allmark and he blew it? It happens, and you know what it does, Kipper, more than anything. That's all the guys in the room talk about. Hey, who's starting? Who's starting? You think you're playing? Yeah, it's a big distraction, and that's why you go with one. But I've got a few tricks up my sleeve for this conversation.
Love it.
There might be a little more to it here.
All right.
So starters in game one, out of the entire league, there were really only two surprises. I don't think I need to go through everybody because you know who everybody's starter should be, as in, if the Rangers make it Shesterkin, Carolina, maybe a question mark a little bit, but I definitely think it's going to be Kochetkov because he has been very good behind a very leaky Carolina defense this year. It hasn't been like the old Carolina. We talked about that last week. Linus Ullmark, for sure, if he's healthy. I would give Ottawa very high marks in dots down D zone, east to west D zone. They're an A if I was going to letter grade them. Ooh. Odd man rushes, they're an A minus. Net front, that's the only place they struggle, but Ullmark's strong there. They have a good fit with him as long as he's healthy. Logan Thompson, for sure, he's going to start in Washington. Bobrovsky in Florida. Vasilevsky, yes. New Jersey, this is one that I think will surprise people. I don't think it would be Markstrom if the playoffs started today.
Really?
I think it would be Jake Allen. Yep. Since the Four Nation face-off, 72 goalies have played at least one game in the NHL. Markstrom is ranked 71. Jake Allen is 7. Jake Allen's he's in a contract year. He's very good when his back is against the wall. Over his career, which is like 14 years long, the only time he's really struggled is when he's had to carry the mail. And if you remember, there was like a leave of absence when he was in St. Louis. He always had a tough time carrying the mail. But when he has a smaller role, he always overplays. And right now he's really overplaying it. He's so hot that you wouldn't not be able to play him. So I think Jake Allen would definitely be the starter in game one. I'm going to go to the West before I come back to Toronto. Okay. Winnipeg, of course, Connor Hellebuck. He's 4th in expected goals since the Four Nations, so he's keeping his steam up. Darcy Kemper has carried the mail all year in LA, and David Rich is nowhere near him, so it's definitely Kemper. Skinner, because they're not, no options there. Lankinen, because of Demko most likely not being healthy. Aiden Hill has been 5th in our rankings since the Four Nations, so he's definitely in the Vegas net. Gustafsson, he would be really close to Vezina voting based on his overall season. One guy that I think's on a really short leash is Jake Ottinger. Jake Ottinger is 70th in expected goals since the Four Nations.
Jeez.
And Casey DeSmith is 16th. He's playing really well. And this is actually, I don't talk publicly about this, but you guys know that I work with NHL goalies even now.
Yep.
And when we talk about I get asked a lot, who's the best goalie off the rush? When I show video examples of Casey DeSmith, it really surprises a lot of current NHL goalies. He's the best at handling the rush game. So if Dallas happens to go rush for rush with Colorado, which is a likelihood, a good fit in Dallas's net to win some games before possibly Ottinger returns. We've seen it before. I like DeSmith as a fit. He's that good off the rush. Over the last 5 years, he's got the best save percentage in the NHL off the rush. So he could be somebody that comes in. We've seen this with Pittsburgh in 17 and 18. We've seen Washington not start Holtby when they won the Stanley Cup in Game 1. Vegas has used multiple goalies, so it's Colorado. So this is not out of the norm. And Dallas could still go through. Toronto, right now, I'm thinking Joseph Woll. And I'm changing on this because of a number of reasons. But they've allowed 9 more goals than expected, both Woll and Stolarz, since the Four Nations. I'm sure you guys have noticed a dip in the goaltending. Well, they've allowed 9 more goals than they should have since Four Nations, which is league worst. So that's kind of where it's going in Toronto. But my analysis on Toronto just starts right there. Like, I want to look at this pretty deep here. And so here's the reason why. Joseph Woll right now has the highest positive game percentage in the NHL. So when he's playing a great game or a good game, he's doing that 41% of the time. That's more than anybody else. 18% of the time, he has a bad start. Now, what he's really good at is he's at more average games than anybody else as well. So you're going to get an overall percentage that is consistent. He's somebody that can go in there and have a very consistent performance. In fact, the guys around our office call him Average Joe because he had 15 average games this year. but that's all you need, right? We need a chance to win. And so I'm looking at Anthony Stolarz. Conversely, you're going to get even more great games out of him, but you have a higher risk of having a bad start. He had 27% of his starts were bad this year. And that's a pretty high percentage if you're going to be a starter in the playoffs. And all you need to do to get through is consistent, solid, I want to lean on somebody for a chance to win type of goaltending. Now, another factor is Toronto creates more offensively in front of Woll. They have more offensive chances. But in front of Stolarz, they actually score more. They actually execute on their scoring chances more. So I thought that was funny. A picture of what they look like road versus home, because this is going to be interesting, especially if Toronto starts on the road. Woll has been better than Stolarz by a fraction on the road, but at home, Stolarz has been the number 7 ranked goalie in expected goals all season. Woll, 46th. So now, all right, when you're talking about the past, the last time the Leafs won in 67. I went all the way back, boys. I went all the way back. All right. Well, they used 2 goalies in the Stanley Cup final against Montreal. They used Sawchuk and Johnny Bower, right?
Of course.
Yeah, and I'll let you know how the series went in case you don't remember. All right, Game 1, Sawchuk loses 6-2, right? Johnny Bower gets a shutout in Game 2, stands on his head. Game 3, he has a 60-save double overtime win, 3-2, but he pulls his groin. Okay, does that sound familiar? Could happen, right?
Of the Leafs, sure, yeah.
All right, so Sawchuk goes back in, loses 6-2, but then has 37 saves to win Game 5 and 40 saves to win Game 6, right? So it takes 2. You're going to need both. So I don't know if you should fight over or deliberate too long over who plays. You got 2 really good options. Somebody might get hurt. Both have to be available. I thought this was funny too. The article I read today. Other Leafs were shoving fully clothed head coach Punch Imlach towards the showers, but Terry Sawchuk and Johnny Bower, the goalies who had done the most to make the celebration possible, were by themselves dragging deeply on cigarettes.
Hey, there was a
Vaughn.
case of beer somewhere real close, too.
I can see Joseph Woll and Stolarz sharing a dart. Sammy cutting the room.
Buddy,
you never
60
know.
saves. Yeah, you get a dart.
It seems more possible now than ever before on a 1A, 1B kind of thing. But just to get to Game 1, on average, we probably have 15 games left for the respective clubs here.
Yeah.
If it is a bit of a toss-up right now between Stolarz and Woll, what needs to happen in the last 15 games? Does a guy need to run with it a little bit? Can you go? Can you split the 15 every other night and still feel good? Like how much is like where's the cutoff on a coach saying that's my guy in game one? Is it the last 5 games, 7 games, or can it go to the last weekend?
All right, so here's what I'm thinking, Kyper. You need to know that your guy's back to being at his best, okay? Now, these evaluators know what that means and what that looks like by this stage in the game. Now, I was worried about Stolarz after the Colorado game. I told you guys that last week, and since then he played Florida and Ottawa, all right? And I watched both of those as well. Now, here's what I know about Stolarz. He uses a movement-wise, big guy. He uses a double shuffle when the puck goes from dot to dot, or if the puck is going from the high slot down to dot on that seam. He'll do one short and then a long, and he'll get big and he'll be square. And it's important to understand that his feet stay under him there. He doesn't get too wide and spread out. Now, Jake Sanderson's goal, right? If you look at that goal and you say to yourself, does Stolarz have his posture? He does not. His pads are touching the crest of the Maple Leaf logo. Did he beat the pass? He did not. Did he have his stance where he has big body illusion? No, his shoulders were, excuse me, I'm getting choked up.
Take your time,
Makes
buddy.
you emotional, I know.
His shoulders were down low, so he's given up top. And now, if you look at that goal again and you just pause it when it's on Jake Sanderson's stick, you'll see how wide and spread out and low he is, and that's just not his stance. I had video from him previous in the season to use with other goalies, and I had clips of him in Montreal making that same seam pass with his feet all the way underneath him. So he's just getting too wide. And when he gets wide, he gets small and he can't move. He gets stuck. So it's almost like saying, if you look at the Jake Sanderson goal against Ottawa and you put 10 pucks on the faceoff dot and you put Stolarz in a practice environment, nobody's going to score on him. NHL shooters should not score on NHL goalies stationary off the dot. Right. But on this play, it's like, okay, what happened? Why did he show up so small and wide and lose his posture? He's got to get his feet back under him, and then he'll have his timing again, and then he'll be ready to go. But right now, to me, he's not ready to go. And out of the two guys, to answer your question, Kyper, I'm looking at that very closely 10 days going into the playoffs. Who has their game together right now? And right now, it's not Stolarz for me, it's more Woll.
All right. So one thing that fascinates me, not being of the goalie brethren, and in fact, often fighting against them, is guys who are capable of these super high highs and these super low lows, like the extreme guys. And I'm watching Ullmark, and he looks like the best goalie to ever play in the NHL. Like, like some of the highlights are absurd. He's, carrying the Sens at moments. And I've seen him not be that too. What is this guy? Obviously, as you're saying, Boston before, they believed in him over Swayman for 6 games.
I'm trying to pull it up right now because I'm going to get a look at what his season has been like as far as consistency-wise. So Ullmark has played 8 great games. Mm-hmm. He's had 9 good games. He's had 9 average games. He's had 2 bad ones, but he's blown 6. Now, blown losses are the ones that really piss off the coach because we should have won, but our goalie stunk.
Okay.
Right? And he has been bailed out by his team once, and he has stolen 2 games. Has he been great? No. Has he been helped? Is he in a good environment? Yes. He has wild highs. There's a lot of volatility in his game. Yeah. And some goalies, either they're the main character of the game for a good reason or the main character of the game for a bad reason. And I've never been able to figure that, but I notice it. It's like if you can't be a part of the storyline in a good way, I don't know. It's just not my game tonight. I'm not shining. I'm not a big storyline. I'm just going through the motions now.
Yeah.
And some guys do that, and you can see it. But overall, there's no way a goalie with his skill level should have 6 blown games. With the amount of games he's played, I believe it's 34.
Vally, we recently had the head coach of the Washington Capitals, Spencer Carberry, on, and I tipped my hat to him because I thought going into the season, you had two choices as a head coach. You manage OV to a record, or you just try to get the best out of your hockey club. And that guy's done both equally well.
I heard the interview. I thought it was terrific, man. And, he really got me thinking because I've been around Washington a long time, follow them closely, good friends with their goalie coach. I just like what they do, how they think, how they've developed their people. And I'm looking at Washington this year, and it's fascinating because a month ago, if you asked me, just look at the data, what do you think's going to happen? Well, they're on a shooting percentage bender, and their goalies are stopping everything, and it's going to come down to earth, and that's always the easy narrative. However, when you see their goal differential change from minus 37 to plus whatever they are, they might be a plus 60 now, because I looked a little while ago and I think they're at 57. But you have to say that, like, we're too far into the season where it's not that. So what do they do? And what do they do differently? I think this is going to be a team that when the season's over, everybody is studying because they've changed the way that we've coached offense. And everybody that I've talked to in the last 10 years about offense, it's don't put too much information in these guys' ear. Don't let them think too much. They're going to lose, and I think that's all a bunch of BS, especially when quarterbacks have 300 plays in their head. And this is interesting to me. Washington, they take the fewest low danger shots, which means they don't take any bad ones. They don't have any wasteful shots. So they're not shooting to get it back the way Carolina's always run their offense, like put it off the goalie's blocker, be the first one to retrieve it. We'll get them on recovered puck number 3. They're actually much different than that. So they take the fewest clear-sighted shots. They have scored 8 more breakaways than expected. And I always think about that because there's nothing worse than a goaltender facing no feelers and then facing high danger. So their high danger are going in at a higher rate because they don't waste any feelers for the goalies. The goalies are never warm against Washington. They never really get into a rhythm. Look at all of Shesterkin's best outputs over the last 4 years when he's been one of the top goalies. It's always against Carolina. It's always against the team that feed a lot of volume. They've scored 6 more one-timers than they should have. They've scored 7 more screen goals than they should have. They've scored 5 more from the slot than they should have. They have the best shooting percentage on everything by a mile. Now, when you break down their video, what do you see? It's they always have deception on their pass, always. You don't know when these guys, with the way that they're always angling, and I know they work on it, they've worked on being able to hold whether they can pass or shoot. And one of the reasons why is because they always have 3 passing options in the house. They always have, if you watch their goals from the slot, which I did today, you'll see everyone fan out and hit lanes. Like you heard him in the interview. He's like, everybody is working hard to be a part of it. We know 5 of us have to get it across the line. So everybody's playing a role and nobody's sleeping in that role. Everybody knows how important it is for the shooter to be a better scoring option. We have to be in passing lanes, or at least let the goalie feel like we're a part of this math equation. And they do that better than anybody. They always have 3 guys in the house. They also are allowed to pass off the pads from the slot area. And not a lot of teams allow that. They want to see their team shoot to score when they get in the slot. And these guys, you'll see it. If somebody's clamping down on them, they'll feed it off the pad from like 15 feet, whereas back in our day, you'd be stapled to the bench if you weren't shooting a score. Right. They also pass off the rebounds more than anybody. And you guys know what that's like. I mean, passing off of a rebound isn't maybe theoretically always the right thing because you really have a goalie out of position, but they get the goalie more out of position, which is why they have a lot of positionless goals. Now, a positionless goal, the way we track it with our company guys, it's any goal where I pass it to Bourne, he passes it back to Kyper, Kyper's banging it in an empty net. There's no goalie. You can't say it went over the goalie's glove. There was no goalie there. Right. So that would be a positionless goal. Well, they have 31 of those. That's second most in the NHL. So they have a lot of those, just dunks basically. And up and down the lineup, they have a lot of shooters that can shoot. Like they have shooters. Chychrun coming in from the point, he's like a forward right now. So I'm fascinated with this team, and I think it's going to be one that a lot of teams will be studying at the end of the year with what they've done offensively, because we've always coached defense, and I've never seen offense coached like this.
Wow.
That's a lot of really fascinating stuff. Hey, Ovi, on that goal race, how many more goals would he need if you weren't in the league? Did you give up a few to him or what?
2. Yeah, he got me for 2.
You got you for 2?
Yeah, he got me for 2.
That's not bad.
And
I feel like that's like a rite of passage.
Buddy, the second one, it was a pure reputation goal. Like, I knew it was him. I was distracted by the fact it was him. I wasn't seeing the puck because I knew it was him. And he just slung it because his previous shot was 3 feet over the net. Like, and it was over edge. And that's another thing, too. When you look at a lot of these goals, you know, Connor McDavid did it the other night to the Rangers. When somebody beats a good goalie from distance, I always pause it and look at the type of the shot. It's always on edge too. And how many of Connor's was on edge from the slot the other night? How many of Ovi's are just on edge and they're just knuckling and diving?
High glove, Valley, high glove. Everybody's going high glove these days.
Yeah, like I really got into this in the last little while because the Rangers, they've scored 36 goals since the Four Nations, and 17 have been over the glove. So I was looking at all goalies, and it's 20% 20% chance to score over the glove. That's more than anywhere else. It's more than low blocker by a mile. It's more than over the blocker.
5 hole?
It's the 5 hole. No, by a mile. 20% is much more than, it's an 88% chance to stop. A save percentage on a 5 hole, it's only 800. You've got an 80% chance to make a save over the glove.
Yeah.
So the glove is like just been exploding. So it was interesting because this is where it got really neat for me. I remember my experience when I'm working with the European guys that I do work with guys, and sometimes they stay at my house for a couple of weeks, and we'll throw a football around on the beach, and they're not great at throwing it or catching it because they didn't play a lot of football. Like
darts,
it's like a tennis shoe sometimes.
Darts
right?
too, right?
I mean, lots of darts. You know, no, seriously, playing catch on the beach, like just with a baseball and a glove, like it gets weird sometimes. And we just stop doing it because I think I'm going to hurt them or something. Like they just don't have great gloves. So anyway, I looked at who has the best glove in the NHL right now. The best gloves, all right, from top to bottom, top 5. Best glove this year is John Gibson, Logan Thompson, Alex Lyon, Joe Wall, Connor Hellebuck. Top 5 guys with glove saves this year, okay? Best save percentage, all that. Now, what do you notice? They're all North Americans, right?
Interesting.
Now, the bottom 5 save percentage goalies over the glove, Sam Harrison, Georgiev, UC Saros, Dan Vladar, who we're going to see tonight, and Kochetkov.
Play baseball, you fools.
You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm onto something here. You know?
Quit kicking around a soccer ball.
You know, like, so, yeah, no, there's something there for sure. And I think it's interesting because, like, I've shared with you guys before how important this game is for the Rangers, guys. Like, they have 4 wins this year against Eastern Conference playoff-bound teams. And they've got 5 more games against those teams. They can't blow this tonight. Their scouting report on this goalie, Vladar, needs to be on point. They've got a goalie that's in the net that is among the bottom 5 glove hands in the league. So they should be shooting high glove. They've had a lot of success shooting high glove, as I said. And they're also up against a goalie that's one of the worst off the rush. And he's bottom 5 off the rush. And over the last 4 years, he's the 4th most scored upon goalie off the rush. So if the Rangers, who have been scoring a lot off the rush and finish up high, I'm getting to a point when I watch games right now that if I see like a one-timer from the slot and it's on the ice, but it's not, 5 hole, yeah, you're going to get some that go through. But if it's on the ice, left or right, I'm almost feeling like it's not really a legit scoring chance unless you're getting it up off the ice for how we're not seeing a lot going in on the ice. 5 hole, yes, but not left or right of 5 hole.
9 games on tap tonight, including yours, Calgary at New York. Valley, awesome stuff once again, man. You were smoking.
Oh, boys. Hey, before we say goodbye, I got a neat one on Auston Matthews for you guys.
Oh, gotta have it.
Yeah. Because I know you guys have been talking about this. Auston Matthews, right? The 5-on-5 stuff. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but he's not that off on his 5-on-5 chances. He's off, but he's not ridiculously off. So I'm not going to bore you with it. But I'm going to boil it down to the way that we talked about Elias Pettersson last week, where it was during the year that he had 39 goals, he had 23 breakaways. He scored 8 versus the only 2 breakaways he's had this year. Well, how about this one? Auston, last year, he had 62 passes received east to west across the slot. 62. He scored 20 goals. You won't even believe how many he's only had this year.
I'd
40?
say a third. 20.
19.
Hmm.
He went from 62 last year to 19.
That is
that's
really strange. And so what does he have for goals off those 19?
East to west.
Yeah.
He's not getting his east to west, right? He's not getting.
So is that his line mates? Is that Nyes, Marner? What is it?
You know what? It's what we just talked about with Washington. Is he getting himself open? Is he doing the work before the shot? Are they not passing it to him because there's restrictions within the team? Is it the guys he's playing with? I mean, if I'm looking at how to get Auston back for the playoffs, figure out his east to west. This guy needs the goalie to move to beat them. Look, NHL goalies, even when they lock on Auston, they're going to be successful more often than you want to admit. But if they have to move first, and in movement, what gets compromised? You lose your angle, you lose your depth, you lose your squareness. You got to get laid eyes on it. You got to make the goalie move. What was I looking at? Oh, Stolarz. He gave up 6 goals on the weekend, right? Right. Ottawa and Florida, as we said.
Yep.
5 of the 6 goals were all movement-based guys.
Mm-hmm.
He moved off of a pass on 5 of the 6. And that's where like I said, he's kind of getting behind right now.
Right.
Pretty remarkable because Marner's got 61 or 62 assists. So,
well, I guess my next assignment's going to be looking into how much they're not connecting like they were before, and that might be a piece of this. But where did all these passes go? I don't know how you go from 62 east to west in 19.
You've got your homework assignment next week, my friend.
Vally, great stuff, man. We appreciate all that.
Wow.
You guys have any idea how many hours I'm putting into this show right now?
I mean, honestly, your hourly rate is atrocious. You are wildly underpaid.
Yeah, right.
You were smoking today, not like Bauer and Sawchuk, but pretty darn close.
Oh, my goodness. All right, fellas.
Thanks for doing
so
this.
much, Vally.
Steve
All right, see you,
Valiquette,
boys.
covering the New York Rangers and CEO of ClearSight Analytics.
It's good that he's a good guest, but he probably shouldn't consistently do our job better than we do it. That's not great.
Oh, no.
I wonder
no,
what
no.
Sawchuk's goals above expected was in that series.
Darts above average.
Darts above expected. High.
What a world.
Game time?
Yes.
Game time. 9 tonight.
It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Like you alluded to there, 9 games tonight. Couple really good ones for me. Habs and Sens. I don't know when the last time these two teams played with this many stakes.
Meaningful game.
That's what I mean. And it's in Montreal. That building will be electric. The Ottawa Senators, as you would imagine, minus 135 favorites there. The Habs on the other side of the money line, plus 115. Don't necessarily have a lean on that one. Think that'll be a really good game. Looking forward to that one. Later on, our beloved Utah Hockey Club in Edmonton to take on the Oilers. Another really big game for the Utah Hockey Club, who are floating around the last playoff
They chose
spot.
a name, and we just don't. It hasn't been released yet, but apparently they've settled on a name.
Here's my idea for our best friend Ryan Smith. Just call them the Hockey Club and use a Yeti as the logo.
I think the blue sky, the sky, some
The
sort of
sky?
sky reference. He's got that blue in there. He's
Look at
taking
it.
it.
Fantastic.
So the Oilers are big faves on home ice, as you would imagine, minus 155. Utah fighting for their playoff lives. That should be an excellent game. And later on, Vancouver also fighting for their playoff lives, hosting our Jets. Jets talk. Jets still really good. Huge favorites tonight, as you would imagine. Minus 170 against the Vancouver Canucks. Plus 145 for the Canucks on the money line. And is there any other games that are? I mean, Ovi again tonight. Looking for to go to 888 tonight, which is insane to say as I quickly pull that up. He is a plus 100 anytime goal scorer tonight against the Red Wings. Feels like he may get one tonight. Plus 100 is not a great number, but they're thinking that if it's a close game, he might be out there when the net is empty. Anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll get into some NHL news and notes, including the NHL going back to Sweden.
They send a couple better teams over there.
We've got
They got Swedes on the rosters.
more Jets talk because we'll get into how important this game is for Vancouver, especially with Calgary losing last night. And the Oilers get some big names back in their lineup to go up against Ryan Smith's Utah Hockey Club. That more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. All right. NHL set to return to international games in Sweden,
Oh. Okay.
Pittsburgh, and Nashville.
So top of mind, we got Erik Karlsson, Ricard Raquel, Philip Forsberg.
There's got to be money to be made. They go back every year. Like, I don't know what Stockholm's got 1 million people. It's kind of equivalent to Ottawa or Calgary, but I don't know.
They already like hockey.
Is it more because of the Swedes that we have here that they make them happy,
No.
or is there real money to be made there?
I don't know.
Growth in the game.
Are we keeping Sweden engaged year round and they feel connected to it because of this arm? I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I just think we've got Sweden. We've got a lot on them.
But here's the problem.
We've got a
this
lot
is how
on
the
them. Can we
NHL
not
has
go
looked
somewhere else.
No, this is how the NHL has looked at Canada forever.
That's
Where they're
true.
like, those guys pay attention. Who cares?
Germany's the place.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's the engine. It's the financial engine.
Yeah. I have something about Russia to say.
What?
No, not actually. It's not a political statement or anything. Ovechkin is what, down to 7 goals against? Or
8.
goals to 8 to get to catch Gretzky?
Mhm.
Why do we not care about playoff goals? Why do Gretzky's playoff goals? Gretzky has 1,016 playoff goals. Alex Ovechkin's total goals with playoffs.
I wish they would count my one.
Ovechkin has 959 goals. So he's got 959 that he scored in the NHL. Gretzky scored 1,016. Those, we don't care about the playoffs ones? The ones that we tell everyone we care about the most all year round?
In basketball, I've seen them combine them, right?
Like career points or whatever?
Yeah.
Do they?
I saw something on LeBron James, and they said career 50,000. I think it included playoffs.
It's just crazy that we're like,
Something like that.
everything only matters in these games, but they don't count towards your career total.
I think we should get him on with Blake and Bonner for his NBA takes.
I could be way off on that, by the way. That's the ultimate dart of 2-hour show, not the ones that we spoke of with Vally. This one, I'm throwing a dart up there that somehow I did read that
Jake just texted me,
they combined.
Jake, the voice of God, who is a big NBA guy, said they do not combine them.
They don't?
No. But,
Okay, ESPN did it on the ticker.
but maybe they said combined, that's what he has, but they count like the all-time scoring record as regular
as
season.
regular
just,
season.
Just like
Yeah,
the NHL
Okay.
does. Yeah.
For sure.
All right.
Now, to be clear, though, one guy, so he'll still get to this total probably, but he's still 59 total NHL goals away from
Playoff
Gretzky.
goals
Am I reaching?
are way harder, way tougher.
They're
to
worth 2 now.
score,
Bad news, Ovi. They're worth 2.
right?
Ovi has 72 and Gretzky has 122 playoff goals.
72 is a lot of
So
goals.
many.
Who did you score in the playoffs? Remember?
Conference final against the Boston Bruins.
Okay. Who was the goalie?
Andy Moog.
Oh, Penticton, BC.
Backhand,
What's up?
5-hole, never stood a chance.
Hit you in the chest.
How you doing? Love it.
All right, so back to Sweden.
Do you think they ever put a team or like try to do like a European division of the NHL?
I don't think so.
No?
I
Okay,
mean,
you want to say what you said about international leaders getting together and possibly?
oh, yeah. Well, listen, this is all. We came on the show and Sam's like, so Kremlin update. What was it? He was like, hold on.
Hey, forget Jets talk.
Okay.
Kremlin update
Yeah.
with Sammy McKee.
You're saying,
Okay, hold on. Let me get
here, while
Hey,
you're looking,
don't
let me
screw
try to
this up
repeat it.
like I did with the NBA regular and playoff
I'm
scoring.
now quickly typing into X Trump, which is a very dangerous
Dangerous.
game.
Sounds like he and Putin have agreed that the hockey players from their 2 countries should have a couple of matches or something,
At the end of the Kremlin readout,
which we all follow so
of course,
closely.
as we all know, the Kremlin readout, Donald Trump supported Vladimir Putin's idea of organizing hockey matches in the United States and Russia between Russian and American players playing in the NHL and the KHL.
Can't believe.
That's amazing.
Putin's
How did you do that?
Why not?
Wow.
Of all the things happening, okay.
Like this guy, it's like he's trying to take us over hockey games between Russia. And it's like, what's going on?
I don't.
Like, can you just worry about the economy?
He just
like,
won his
good
league. He just won
Lord.
his men's club championship.
All I see is him ever shank it. It's like, is he playing against, who is he playing against? A guy in a wheelchair? There's no way he wins this club championship. Like,
So-
woman, man.
Could we now see Gary Bettman and Marty Walsh from the NHLPA sitting in meetings now with those two guys?
He's sitting in international negotiations.
hopefully it goes better than the one with
Gary
Zelensky.
Bettman accomplished a ceasefire in Ukraine today.
So
What?
So they made a comment on this, the NHL. The NHL released this statement.
That was quick.
We have just become aware
Hey guys,
of the
this just crossed our
of
desk.
the
too.
conversation between President Trump and President Putin. Obviously, we were not a party to those discussions, and it would be inappropriate for us to comment at this time.
All right. Well, that's your international.
Why? Like,
Oh my Lord!
I could you have seen like Bettman's office going, oh, what do we do with this?
You just
That's exactly. They're like, say that we can't say anything.
not
Just-
to get into politics here, but he says a lot every day. So you just kind of hope that like this one kind of just passes and you go on to the next thing.
I was
I'm not
thinking
even
of.
sure if it needed a response.
I was thinking
I
of.
think anybody would have picked up on that and asked them about it.
It's a great point. But I was
Really?
thinking about Gretzky the other day because Trump the other day was like, got a lot of friends in Canada. Wayne Gretzky, great friend, and Trump or Gretzky has to be just like, stop it.
Please, God.
You're killing
He
me.
did it again.
Yes. Stop saying my name, man.
Please, give me a break.
On my knees.
God.
Anyway.
Nobody needs Jets talk right now more than us.
Jets talk?
Jets
Kremlin talk?
The worst segment of the show.
Okay, how desperate is Vancouver here to?
So desperate.
This is a potential first round matchup, is it not? If
Yeah.
the Canucks get in, and what better way to maybe in a month, 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks, plant a seed?
Yeah. I can't speak to how Vancouver Canucks fans feel about their team, but knowing how last year they're currently in the second wild card spot. They got games.
Clinging.
Yeah, they're clinging. Like, look behind them there. There's 3 other teams that are right there. Every time I watch this team, it's just, I can't remember a team with worse vibes. They got no juice right now. Like, Quinn Hughes is the whole show.
Great show, though.
Great show. Like, Kiefer Sutherland's having a great year. Is that his name?
Garland?
That's not his name.
What'd you say?
Kiefer. Sherwood.
Kiefer
whatever.
Sutherland's
Yeah,
voice guy.
He's having a ton of success, that guy. But yeah, it just, you're looking for them and going, where is it supposed to come from most nights? And I know Petey's name comes up all the time, but they got bad vibes, man.
You said about like planting a seed. I've watched the Jets a ton this year. I've watched the Canucks a ton this year. That's a waste of 8 days.
Oh my God.
Sorry to my Canuck fans that are listening, but that would not be an enjoyable experience for you, I don't think.
Oh, hey, for Jets talk, you can plug your ears, Winnipeg fans. It was interesting that he said Hellebuck was a top 5 glove guy. And I have that image of McDavid just blowing it a foot clean over his glove.
He's looking at 40 wins.
Yeah.
40 wins and 9 losses and what's he
It's
going in with
insane.
almost a 930 save percentage.
It's insane. The year he is having is an all-time goaltending season. With McKinnon and Draisaitl likely nominees for the Hart Trophy, I think he'd be a very worthy pick to be on that, a finalist at least. Can't see any other forwards in that list.
All right,
Maybe Makar.
the Edmonton Oilers are getting some help tonight. Ekholm and Hyman set to return.
I think they need that. Watching the Oilers a little bit too, like they've felt like they could use a little help.
I can't even fathom to believe where this team would be without that trade last season, or how long has it been since
For
they've
Ekholm,
had Ekholm?
this would be their 3rd playoff run with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 years ago, like getting him out of Nashville
Mhm.
was like huge.
The difference in the look of their decor with him in
Yeah.
is staggering.
And not to go and revisit, but we'll revisit even the trade deadline, and like Carlo is an example. Like I like Carlo. I think he does add depth for sure for the Leafs, and they gave up a first and a prospect in Minton. Like, that's very expensive.
And Minton just had a natural hat trick in Providence.
But Carlos, like, no Ekholm. Like, that's a game-changing defenseman. A real one for me. And the ones that we've seen in the past, like, not just below that guy.
The main difference with Ekholm is he does have an offensive touch, right? He can help you out at both ends of the rink. But like Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse Wallman, Kulak, Emberson, that Emberson's been good for them this year. That's solid. That's solid. If you're good up front, I am curious about Evander Kane, like if he can come back and help them, because that would really be another guy. And you can start to see the way that they can work their way into that Western conversation. Because right now, it feels like Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado and Vegas have a leg up.
As a reminder, this hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. As you mentioned, Dallas, word is Miro Heiskanen. We've mentioned this before. Very unlikely to be ready for the first round for Dallas.
That's a tough blow.
Tyler Seguin is on course, but this guy is that type of defenseman like Ekholm, game changer, pace of play, 30 minutes a night.
Yeah, one of those few guys that we talked about earlier that can actually make a difference in terms of the pace of play and the direction things are going. You're asking a lot of old Thomas Harley, who is very good. My guy. He's your guy.
Wow, I was watching a game against USA pretty recently, and they said Cale Makar's not playing and Thomas Harley's playing. I was pretty nervous about it, and then I was like, "Oh, put him out there more."
Yeah. When Makar comes back, leave him in there.
He's really good.
Yeah.
So
How old is he? 23?
young.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
so.
younger than
I think in like another year and a half, he will be like
One of those
Ekholm.
guys. Yeah.
Well, just a
And he's got some physical element.
Yes,
He's bigger.
he does.
Like he's
6'3", 211 pounds.
yeah.
He'll be in Italy for Team Canada
he will be for sure.
Yeah. after how he played.
Makar
in that.
Taves.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Old Pietrangelo probably not going.
Any other games?
I was just gonna say anything to the
I
fact
got something for you.
that the Canes are 4-0 since they traded Rantanen.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, no, nothing.
yeah,
Oh,
well,
and
Uh,
Rantanen and the Stars are 1-2-1. So it's all written.
Trade settled.
The story's over.
Frank Saravelli has a column out right now. I'm pretty sure it's by Frank. It's on Daily Faceoff. About penalties. Penalties are at the lowest level in NHL history. Per game power play opportunities. 5.5 total per game. Some teams at this point of the season, Minnesota has had 60 fewer power plays. St. Louis 56 fewer. Vegas 55 fewer. So massive swing. We watched that Four Nations, and there's
put the whistle away.
Yeah, they have. And in this, Stephen Walcom, the head of the ref guys, that's his official title,
Head of the refers.
has said that their missed call rate, which they actually track, which is cool, is steady. So there's less infractions. Do we like that?
Love it.
Yeah?
Okay, so
I want the guys.
the infraction's there, but they miss it.
No. There's just fewer. They're not missing calls. They're not calling less. There's less there.
What is the rate of missing calls?
I think it's held steady, he's saying, but it would be funny to know. We should get data on that.
less penalties is better. I want to see him play 5-on-5.
Oh,
Everyone does.
It's better.
and let's
better.
lose 3-on-3 next season.
What?
Yeah, I'm done with it.
do it for longer and kill the
I'm
shootout.
done with 3-on-3.
I'm fine with that.
I like it.
5-on-5 and a tie.
Fight at the end.
9 games on tap. Important ones.
They're all important now.
And after you've watched them and gone to bed, you join us again here tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Have a great one, everybody.